Stardate 1226.2020. Welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, a kind of smart, kind of funny podcast about new Star Trek and beyond. I'm your reluctant captain, Mike Moody Garcia. With me on the blue screen, we have
Raya Gossett.
Clyde Haynes.
Grant Davis.
And we're back with another live pod after a short holiday hiatus. Happy holidays to everybody.
Happy
Yeah. You too.
Christmas to those who celebrate, even though it's a day later. We're back to review and break down the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery, Season 3, Episode 11, Su'Kal. So,
I think it's pronounced sucky.
showing your hand already. So we
Jump at the gun, man.
we typically run through some housekeeping stuff at this point in the pod, but we're going to change things up a little bit today because I want to hear what y'all thought of this episode. So,
What's that called again?
let's hear some hot frakes. All right. That's a good one. All right. Hot frakes on Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Episode 11, Su'Kal. Who's going first?
I might go first because I think I'm the outlier in this situation.
Right.
I loved this episode. I thought it was building us up to our finale, kind of two-parter we're about to get for the next 2 weeks. We've laid the groundwork for a possibility of what's caused the burn, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be what has caused the burn in some way, shape, or form. I also love that we essentially finally got a holodeck episode out of Discovery, which I always love a good holodeck ep. I thought the visual effects looked incredible. I loved seeing Doug Jones's face for once. Also, Culber needs that earring permanently. I don't know if he can just always be Bajoran, but I loved that.
Pretty hot.
And I thought Book coming to save the day, Tilly acting like a badass on the bridge was super fun. We got like lots of classic Trek. The ship got taken over. We have a moody baby who is at the cornerstone of protecting the galaxy. And I thought it was great. I had a great time watching this episode.
All right. Let's hear from Grant.
Oh man. I thought
Thank you, Mariah.
I thought it started out pretty fun and adventurous. I'm like, oh, okay, they're gonna go to the nebula. They're gonna find out what this signal is of this baby thing. And then all of a sudden it entered into this sort of what's that called? The Shadowlands from X-Men, the dreamscape thing that Mr. Sinister always puts them in.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like some weird MC Escher kind of dreamscape thing. And it was dorky, and it reminded me of what I vaguely recall seeing anytime I would tune into like an original TNG Next Generation type episode, and I was like, oh, what's going on here with this corniness? I thought that the redemption was in how it ended. I thought that was a pretty good cliffhanger ending and was pretty exciting. And also, Book is carrying this show. That guy is fantastic. Everything that Book's doing, I'm all about it. I'm like loving it. That's where I'm at. We'll do a deeper dive into me whining about certain elements, but I know Mike is gonna say the exact same complaint as I did about the burn. So go ahead.
Well, all right. Okay, I'll jump into it. First, I want to echo a lot of what Mariah was saying. I did like a lot about this episode. It was a bizarre episode, but I like some of it. There were some problems. There was a lot to like, though, despite those problems. I love seeing Doug Jones at prosthetics, proving, again, an actor. He doesn't have to be covered in makeup. Some of the scenes where he reconnects with his Kelpian history were actually pretty touching. I enjoyed that. The Hollow World looked pretty cool at times, very MC Escher and trippy, and I love the feeling of like not knowing what to expect there. Anything could really happen. I love that landscape. Tilly's showdown with the leader of the chain was suspenseful and fun. I love the clapbacks and the sarcastic air Tilly's whole showdown took on. That was fun. It was like Tilly was speaking directly to like the shittier parts of the internet, and that was sweet. But yeah, this was a mixed bag for me. Not a very successful one because of the end. So okay, I'm just gonna get to it. I was not a fan of the explanation of the burn.
But I don't think that's the full explanation of the burn yet. I think it's a red
Doing a hot
herring.
break.
Wow.
Okay. Now I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll get you.
Don't put me on the spot here.
I'll get your back.
I wasn't a fan of the explanation of the burn, and so far all we know is that this is the explanation of the burn. It has me not being a fan of how the burn was explained has nothing to do with expectations. I know we theorized a bit on the pod about who or what had caused the burn, but I had no real need or expectation about the answer other than it be like original, creative, emotionally compelling, and yeah, none of that was the case. It sure was different, and I applaud the writers trying to emotionally connect it to a character. Unfortunately, it was a character we didn't know or care about. But we'll get into it in a little bit. So mixed bag for me. What'd you think, Clyde?
All right, not my favorite episode. I was not a fan. I think, Mike, before we started, you said it was like 10% that you weren't really feeling. I would say it was about 10% that I was feeling. And you could have kept everything that happened on the planet, you could have kept that for me. I wasn't moved by it. I wasn't really that interested in it. You're right. It was when we look at the burn being caused by the angst of a character that we don't know or care about, you definitely could have kept that. Even if it's a red herring, it's a bad red herring for me. And usually I'm Mr. Positive about most of this stuff, but I was really disappointed. I like a red herring that I'm really I think it's believable, that I'm sold at, and then you do a 180 or a right turn, and I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? If you're gonna do a red herring, that's what I was expecting. I was expecting the burn. I wasn't expecting the burn to be this big, mysterious, mystical, all-encompassing thing. I just like, if you give me a believable reason, right? It is the Romulans doing something, or it's some splinter group of somewhere that created something. That's all I needed. Like, just give me something believable. This was like, what? Why? A child throws a tantrum and all the ships in the universe explode? No, I wasn't that. But I will say, what happened on Discovery with Tilly in the chair was incredibly compelling. I mean, everything that happened there, even with kind of the things that were going on in engineering, that I was into. That's where I woke up and was like, okay, I'm fully paying attention, right? Everything else had me thinking like, was this supposed to be the Halloween episode that got pushed back? Like, I really wasn't into the dreamscape or the scary monsters or, all of that. So I'm kind of hoping that we're going to get some redemption in the next couple episodes. But right now I was just like, I like the last 15 minutes.
All right. Some hot freaks. I'm super excited to dive deeper into this episode and everybody's opinions. Especially Mariah, because I want to see what you pulled out of this that I didn't. But before we dive deeper into this episode, Grant, can you tell everybody how they can support the podcast?
Yeah, you can go to patreon.com/Star Trek Pod, make a per episode pledge, give us $2 an episode, and join us on our private exclusive Slack channel. There you can chat with other Trekkies who love the show, love all things Trek, and you can also get access to bonus exclusive content when we do a movie review of something or talk about a little bit of a deep dive into best of 7 of 9 episodes, or whatever we're trying to do over there. We'd love to have you guys join us, and we appreciate your support. That is patreon.com/Star Trek Pod.
Yes, you can also subscribe to the podcast, the audio version, if you're watching us live on YouTube, or if you're listening to the audio version, you can watch us live or watch the stream later on our YouTube page. You can find links to everywhere you can listen and or watch us, all at StarTrekPod.co.
And if you are watching us live, we want you to participate in the show. Like so many of people who are watching us right now, feel free to type in capital P, capital O, capital D, capital pod in the chat and let us know how you think I'm absolutely wrong about hating the stuff that's on the planet. I see you there, Choopy. But feel free to participate in the episode. Ask us questions. We'll try and get to them at the end of the show.
All right. And if you are joining us just a little late, welcome everybody. Happy holidays. We're talking about season 3, episode 11, Sue Call of Star Trek Discovery. And yeah, we're on holiday break. And do you mind if I show you guys a little bit of my haul this Christmas?
Sure.
Is that okay? All right. All right.
It's a nerdy haul.
All right. Yes, first.
We do a video show, so
Hey,
check us
look
out
at
on video.
Wrong
Yeah.
show.
We got
It's a Star Wars shirt that says 1977 for you
Hey, look
listening.
at that.
Oh, again, the wrong show.
There's
Wrong show,
another
man.
Star Wars Millennium Falcon shirt he's showing
Look
us.
at these.
And
I
some
mean, but Baby Yoda is adorable.
Baby
across
Yoda
all
sock.
fandoms.
Look at that.
Wow.
Ahsoka.
That one
That's what I
Jedi.
got, guys.
Matt, I
Bobblehead.
mean, Mike, man, I didn't realize you were that into Trek. I think we're
Neither did I.
I was like, say, are we doing the wrong type of pod?
My family
I
sent
just
me all Star Wars stuff.
You know, I'm
Sweet.
fancy.
Nice. Speaking of which, I just gotta say, when you talk about Star Wars, seeing the Mandalorian in Wonder Woman with no makeup is pretty fascinating to me. So it's just
That's
Shout
true.
out.
That's true. Okay, let's continue talking about this fucking bizarre episode of Star Trek. Sue Call was written by Ann Cofield Saunders, directed by Norma Bailey. This episode was previously titled Citadel in press releases and such, but was changed before airing. So if you're a little confused, that's why. Of course, it's named after the character of Sue Call, a character who apparently caused the burn through his night terrors. I don't know.
Man-child tantrum.
Oh, I have such a good theory on this, but I wanted to just one really quick thing on Anne Saunders. She wrote for like probably some of my favorite episodes of Battlestar Galactica, so I'm really excited about her being on this team. But yeah, and then the Citadel I think also makes sense if they were thinking that's what they were going to call it, because that's what they have to go like find him in, right? But,
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like Lamo here, Mariah, in the comments is echoing what you're saying. She says, I like the app overall. It was entertaining as hell. I trust they'll build this out more. And it sounds like that's what you were saying earlier, right?
Yeah.
What are you
So
thinking?
my thoughts are that the mom has obviously programmed Dr. What was her name?
Dr. Kelpian.
Isa.
Dr. Isa has programmed all these things to take care of her child. She realized she was not going to make it through the radiation, and she needed something to both protect and to teach her child while she was gone.
Simple.
And so,
Whip up a program like that. No problem.
you know, we got some bright engineers, and a lot of those things are already things that I think exist. And I think over time, like it is obviously built into this gigantic world to fit the needs of this person. And if you have the capabilities to create any world, I would also not stick to a starship the whole time and maybe build something really interesting like that. But what I think has happened is there's some sort of defense mechanism when anytime this kid is afraid or thinks something's going to hurt him, that is then causing the ship to react, which is then causing the planet to react, because it is an entire planet of dilithium, which is an unstable radioactive matter, as we saw as it killed Spock in the Wrath of Khan. And so I think the planet then causes that reaction, which then goes into the nebula, which then caused the burn. So I do think it's just a small catalyst in this bigger thing that then happens. So it's not necessarily that this kid is the all-powerful being.
No.
And, you know, I would assume it's perhaps maybe the day his mother actually died is the day of the burn.
Yeah, I mean the technical aspects weren't very well explained, but it's pretty clear that, or it was clear to me that that's what's going on. He's not like some godlike powerful being, but I mean, emotionally connecting the cause of the burn to the trauma and alienation of a character and presenting that trauma and alienation as like its own sort of strange alien world, that's not a bad idea. It's actually a really pretty cool idea. but the execution was just bizarre and muddled and hard to connect with. I mean, first off, we don't know or care much about Sakal, so I'm not at all invested in his story, even though I thought the actor did an interesting job.
Yeah, it's Bill Irwin is the
Right.
actor
Yeah.
who I thought did a cool job emulating a lot of Saru's like
But-
mannerisms.
We just met him. I'm not at all invested in him or his character or anything about him. This episode did little to endear him to me or to make me care about him. So tying Sakal's like emotional journey to the cause of the burn, the major mystery of the season, the thing that has shaped vastly the timeline we are in, it was just a huge misfire for me. It seemed like the writers were it seemed more like they were trying to emotionally connect the cause of the burn to Saru by instead connecting it to the development of this other poor random Kelpian man baby. But that just didn't work emotionally for me or narratively at all. It was just, it undermined for me some stuff that Disco just sometimes doesn't do well. Like it was a failed attempt to like root the big space mystery with a lot of emotional weight. And I applaud the theme, I applaud the attempt, but it didn't work. It just overcomplicated the answer to the mystery to the point that I almost checked out when Colbert started spouting his ridiculous throwaway technobabble about how it works.
Oh,
And
clearly the kid is a mutant who has like linked to dilithium somehow and has mutant powers or whatever.
yeah, and that's a trope, right? That's like a
Yeah.
like a trope. The trope of the cause and the cure of this universe altering event resting on the shoulders of someone who must confront his trauma that appears in the form of like some CGI shadow ghost monster. It's so tired. And for Star Trek and for the sci-fi genre, like it's not a bad idea. And it's not because I was hoping it would be the Romulans or the Dominion. I don't care. But I do think the show will flesh it out and make it more interesting and believable later. They just kind of dropped the reveal here, right? But the reveal didn't sit well with me for all those reasons.
Well, Mike, I think to your point, I think this got trapped in the middle, right? So on one hand, if it had been this emotional connection, then it might have been very different. So when I think back to an episode in this season where I thought they did a good job was the Seed Ship, right? I felt some emotional connection to what was going on. You've got this father who has to say goodbye to his family, and he's desperately trying to save them, right? Because he is alone and has been wondering and trying to figure out how does he hold on to him. Like it wasn't like bring me to tears emotional connection, but I got it. Like I felt it. And so when he had to make this choice, and then for Nan to say, you know what, I'll stay here, like I got all that. Like all that worked. Right. So that's on one end of the spectrum where you can have the situation where the emotional connection is clear and you become invested. On the other end, is this just simple and it works and you're focused on the how do we resolve not having another burn or this mystery? It's almost a crime detective. Who did it? Why did they did it? That's less surprise, less shock, but also fairly straightforward. And where this fell was in the middle, muddied, no emotional connection, and left me going, eh. And I think that was what hurt for me is I was like, I don't care, and it just felt like it was a little dropped.
Lamo here has a great comment. She said, it's the Kelpian transformation story. Agree with several here discussing Sakal's journey being representative of all Kelpians and Saru in particular. And yeah, that wasn't lost to me at all. However, I didn't feel it. It really felt like the writers wanted to give Saru and Doug Jones a big emotional episode and tie the big mystery of the season to him and his culture and his people. But it didn't connect that way.
Maybe I'm heartless. I didn't care. Mm-hmm. Right? Like it didn't move the needle like at all. I'll tell you what, when I see like the emotional connection between Stamets and Adira in that moment at the very beginning when they're talking at the end of kind of Giorgio's party or memorial, and they have this moment and he addresses a gray he cannot see. That emotionally landed to me like a ton of bricks. But this Kelpian thing, I'm out.
I like Stamets saying that. I don't care about Gray anymore at all. There's nothing happening in that story, and it's not happened for this many episodes now that I'm just like, do something with Gray or have him not in the story anymore, because I don't know. Like, he just pops in and like is just kind of traumatizing Adira and then like bounces out. Is there something more to kind of flesh out about like what's going on with that relationship and with Trills and whatever is going on? But I don't know.
I wonder if Adira going to the planet, which I thought that was such like a badass little moment for them, like the I need your comm patch now, like and of
Ordering
course
Reno around.
Of course Reno's gonna be like, yeah, kid, whatever. Like, go do your thing.
Breaking the rules? Yeah, I'm in.
Let's do it. I really liked that a lot. I'm excited to see Adira down with the away team for the rest of this. But I'm wondering if the radiation of the planet is going to somehow solidify Gray into a character that everybody can see, which I think would be kind of interesting. Possibly, or something along those lines.
I gotta say, I love a good Mariah like theory. Like I feel like it's been a minute since you've given us a really good one. That's gold. I like that one.
It's a good theory because this is hollow technology like we've never seen before, and apparently it has the ability to morph and change based on someone's needs and based on their emotions and thoughts and feelings. So, yeah, it would make sense for Reno or Adira herself to figure out how to incorporate this to get Gray out of her psyche and into the real world. Yeah,
I have to agree with
out of their psyche.
I agree with what you were saying, Mike, about everything that was kind of absurd and overplayed about the Sukal having to confront his demons or whatever, and that we have no emotional connection to this character at all. I think it's still in this first episode seems like a unnecessary convoluted narrative device that Saru has to look human. I think it's more of just like throwing a bone to Doug Jones that he doesn't have to wear prosthetics for a couple episodes, but so that they can show some like emotional weight to what he's doing, hopefully in the other episodes, because here again it was just a little bit of a shrug in his dynamic with these characters. And for them to present that this 125 years isolated man-child Kelpian needs to suddenly confront their fears to undergo Vihari to free themselves from another burn occurring or whatever. I don't really know what they're saying, but like in order for us to escape.
I think the program cannot end until they complete the test. And so they've been avoiding the test. And because now that the hollow has been on for so long and is a little glitchy, there's no other way to get the hollow to turn off without completing the test. I'm also wondering, like, I did love seeing Doug Jones in person because I think Doug Jones is just an incredible actor. But I wonder if y'all would have felt a more deep emotional connection to this whole story if we had gotten to see a Kelpian going through all of this. Do you know what I mean? Like, what if
he as a Kelpian was talking to Sukal? Yeah.
Yes.
Nope.
You don't think it would have helped?
I think
it would have helped. I didn't get it.
Do you think you would have felt a deeper, like a better sense of the emotional sort of heightency of the whole situation on the planet if Saru had been in Kelpian form the whole time?
Not really. I mean, if maybe if Sukal was a descendant of Saru or of his sister, something where even though we don't know that, but even though we saw Doug Jones's face and he was able to emote more in this episode and show us how great of an actor he is, I still didn't feel that he was like this was happening to him, and I didn't it didn't reach me emotionally, unfortunately.
And I like Doug Jones and what he did in this episode, and I think I felt that he was torn, right? And we see Michael saying, his judgment is already compromised. I felt that. Like I said, I thought he did a phenomenal job. And like everyone else said, I think the crew and the things outside of that were superb, right? When we see not only what we saw from Tilly, but from Book, what we see from Stamets, Adira, and Reno, like everything else was really working for me, right?
Yeah.
It didn't land. I was not connected to Sakal in any way, and I want it to be.
I wanted to just, one of the scenes I thought that was really successful on the planet was when Michael was pretending to be the Hollow, trying to talk to the kid. And that like warm smile from Sonequa, like you could tell. I just love the way that she interacts with people who are supposed to be childlike or new species, and like that curiosity as well as that sort of warmed embrace. But you could also feel that little teeth grit of like, I am doing this because we need to get the hell off of this planet and I need you to listen to me, but I'm going to act like the mommiest mom right now to get what I want.
My skin's about to fall off in an hour.
Yeah.
You need to get this over with, kid.
TikTok, buddy. TikTok.
You're right. That was a great scene. I also like the scene with Saru, even, as a human, interacting with the elder Kelpian.
Mhm.
Like, I thought that was a great scene.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so, again, like, I don't want to pick on Sakal, but there were pieces that just, I was like, wow, that's pretty good. Like, oh, I'm enjoying this. But it just didn't all come together for some reason.
I'm okay on the positive. I'm with you on the Burnham scene, seeing her adapt and show us why she is Michael Burnham, why she is the officer that we all know and respect. That was great. I really enjoyed that, and there was some great scenes here of Starfleet officers who we love showing us why we love them and showing us new dimensions, like that scene with Burnham and the scene with Tilly, which I'm sure we'll talk about it in a bit. Grant, did you want to jump in?
Oh, only so much to say, like, the Burnham scene, it was fine. Nothing. It didn't do anything for me. The Saru with the elder scene, there was just a lot of. It felt
Grant,
like
it's Christmas.
It felt like there was just a lot of wasted time in this Escher dreamscape that they built. I will say that the monster looked badass to me. I loved the underwater mossy kelp thing going on with it. But I did think it was really impressive that at the end when, and I know I'm jumping ahead, but at the end when Osira takes over the ship and you see that Book comes to rescue and Burnham's on the ship and they're heading back, I'm like, man, if anyone can fix this shit, it's Burnham. Like, I felt like an immediate sense of confidence for them that she is the person, not Saru, who could fix that situation right there. So that's a testament to how they developed that character that I fully buy in, and I'm excited about her character, her conviction, and that she knows how to just troubleshoot. And it's like Vic Mackey, right? In The Shield. You're like, oh, things are so upside down, no one can fix this. But Vic Mackey can, and with a phone book to some perp's head usually.
What's interesting to me about Discovery and the way they've done this crew is they've very subtly kind of gotten rid of some characters that you thought could exist as super competent standalone number 3, number 4, number 5 people, right? So when you think back to TNG, right, your top 2 are Picard and Riker, but then you look and you go, you've got Data, you've got Geordi, right? Like you've got Troy, you've got characters that when you think about, okay, we're taking an away team, I'm going to leave the ship in the hands of the number 5 person, right? You're like, no worries, right? What was interesting to me was you're going to take Saru and Burnham down on the planet, and you're going to leave the ship with Tilly. And I was thinking, okay, I understand that Tilly's the XO. She's the number 1. I get it. But wouldn't you then want like a really strong person to be aside this rookie XO? And so for Burnham to be off the ship, I was a little confused at that first because I was thinking there's nobody left on the ship that's going to be able to really be like that right-hand person.
There's no Giorgio. This is your complaint.
Right. There's no Giorgio, but there's no Giorgio. You don't have a non, right? And I guess you might have Stamets, right? But he's going to be in engineering. So I was a little concerned about that. But then at the end, it made sense because I said, okay, well, of course, you couldn't have had Burnham on the ship because now you need to have Burnham go save the ship.
Yeah, they stripped it of all the alphas who are going
book
to
included, yeah.
wreck shit, right?
Right, because I was like, Book is I feel like they were like, Book is the squirrely one that we can sort of leave on this ship where if we need to come up with creative problem solving, we have that ability. Which
how did Book become her number one? Like, who was the one replying to her? Like, all those other people on the ship, and Book's all like, oh wait, how do we feel about
because
this?
he has the cool little morphing ship that can go where Discovery can't go.
Right. So I liked the way that they were able to sort of solve that to leave it to the crew. And it does look like, based on previews for next week, we're all going to get crew kicking ass, which I'm really excited about, and taking back the ship. Also very excited about that. But I did love the exchange between Osira and Tilly, because I just loved her really standing her ground and and the like Freud reference I thought was really funny. And the one thing that got me was when she was like, you're going to have to kill me to get me out of this seat. I wanted a little bit more of a struggle instead of this like tear out, I was like, does Osira have just like superhuman strength?
I think the Orions are stronger. Yeah.
I love that scene too, Mariah. And I thought when she was like, come on, Red, I was ready for Tilly to go, what do you want, Green? Like, I was ready for that. And I was like, what happened to that line? That would have been perfect.
But everything that came before was great, like the sarcasm, the disdain Tilly showed, just tit for tat, just clapping right back at Osira was great. It even made Osira, I thought, a more credible threat. Like, it fleshed her out a little more, gave us more of her personality. Like, I really like seeing them face off against each other. I thought that was a really fun aspect of this episode. I think, and like, is Osira like this super criminal mastermind where she can like track them now? Or is it, what do you guys think it was, that piece of tech that Book installed in the ship that was?
I think it's like what JC said. Vance is sus.
Vance is sus.
Vance is sus.
Vance is sus. However, in the previous episode, maybe it was this one, Book installed
there you go.
Book did install some chain tech on Discovery to help them find the ship, and Vance was all, hey, that it's like the Cylons and BSG. If you connect your computers, the Cylons can track you. So maybe the chain was able to track them because of that tech.
It's possible, but I thought they said they were just able to track your signature, but maybe it'll be something more twisty in the end, which would be a fun, way to sort of change that up. But I loved when Osira sat in the chair with her leg up, which I am now just going to establish. I believe that Osira is the queer villain that we've needed this whole time. Because there is I don't know if y'all know, but there's like a trope that queer folks cannot sit in chairs properly.
Like, that sounds ridiculous.
It's like a thing on like TikTok. It's like, show me that you're gay without telling me you're gay, and you just have to sit in a chair like crisscross applesauce. Yeah,
Mariah is Gen Z scum, so she knows about the TikTok.
I am a millennial. Thank you very much.
Gen Z scum. Grant, what did you think of Osira?
She seems like a QVC marketer to me. It's like it doesn't compute that she's a villain still. I still feel like she's about to sell me some useless sarongs or something. I don't know what they sell on QVC, but I don't know if I buy it. I think that the back and forth between her and Tilly, I just feel like this episode did Tilly dirty a bit. They keep trying to tell us that Tilly is ready for leadership, despite them repeatedly showing us through these 3 seasons that she's timid, she's awkward, she's indecisive. Like, none of these things that seem to be a leader. The only leadership that we see is them constantly telling us she can step up into these situations. And I thought, like, sure, she gave banter, but then once again, like, she finally gets a position and loses the entire ship and gets everyone captured.
I don't think that's fair. I think she did everything right. There's this great quote from Picard where you can do everything right and still lose. That's just the nature of the galaxy. And that's what happened here. She did everything right. She cloaked, she hid, she did everything she could to save everybody. She talked shit to Osira. She tried to stand for the ship. She didn't let them take the ship until
Did
the
she
last
push
minute.
the no teleporting button so that people can teleport on there?
So
I don't know if they have those.
I agree
don't
with
think-
both of you. I agree with both of you. I think Grant, I think you make a strong point, right? That Tilly's first real command and she gets the ship taken from her. So I see that.
Time.
But I think
But to Mike's point though, I do think she did everything right. And I think what we're looking at is if you had 24 episodes, then you'd get a couple episodes with Tilly sitting in the big chair and everything going right. But
Right.
when you have like 12 or 13 episodes, you just don't have the space for it.
How about that, Grant?
like such
24
a-
episodes.
No more.
I
It
do
just felt
think-
like such a see, I told you so. I want Vance to pop in and be like, I told you we can't trust Tilly.
But I think she's gonna fully redeem herself. I think we had to set her up for the ultimate test
Oh,
for
yeah.
her to redeem herself. Because I mean, how many times in the original series, in Voyager, in like every Star Trek, the ship has gotten taken over. Like
Yes.
it is a classic episode. So we just have to see how Tilly's gonna solve this particular problem.
But we totally had Vance go, oh wait, so Burnham is gonna go with you, Saru, and you both are not gonna be on the ship, and wait, Tilly's gonna be in charge? Once again, Vance is sus.
But like again,
Hashtag
like
Grant is sus.
to the point that Vance is sus, like he's the one who now knows that it's just silly. It's Tilly.
Tilly.
It's just Tilly sitting in the chair. And so is he the one who led Osira to them?
Is Vance Osira?
I don't think that's it. But
Please don't do that to us again. But no, I think that's an interesting point because I thought that was an interesting moment from Vance when he looked at that. Like you could almost feel him want to say, "Are you sure?" Like
yeah.
I thought he was gonna say something at some point, or
He's like,
pull-
I am Reddit. This is bad.
yeah. But to your point, like he could have pulled Saru aside and said, "Hey, are you sure about this?" But he didn't, and so that makes me wonder: is Vance sus?
Ooh, wait. What if Vance is not the suspect? What if it's that like security person who's always with him?
That we
Oh.
only saw on screen this season for about 9 minutes and haven't
Yeah.
seen in 8
Who I
episodes.
wanted to be EXO of the ship? Yes.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Can't remember their name now.
I never understand why they don't just like whenever they're in these situations and they have this ship that can just effortlessly jump point A to B or whatever. Why they don't just like, okay, I'm gonna jump right behind you. I'm gonna jump over here to the other side of this nebula, to this side. They're still gonna be close enough to the nebula, just be on the other side of the nebula. And then that ship's like, now I gotta drive all the way around here.
That's true, but this ship, the Osiris ship, was outfitted with these like tentacles that were really cool that we haven't seen before. We saw them. I think the pack lids have those.
I think we saw
in,
that in the Matrix.
Well, sure,
Yeah.
but didn't the pack lids have those in Lower Decks?
Yes.
Those weird tentacle things.
Yeah, and they also sort of remind me of like the control stuff that we
Hmm.
saw.
Well, and we also the issue was, like I said, I thought Tilly. It made sense. That was something that absolutely made sense. They were letting Book's ship get clear
Mhm.
before they went black alert. Now the issue was the minute that she said black alert, you've got this long interface where Stamets has got to stretch before he puts his arms into the gel.
Crack those knuckles.
And as a result, all of a sudden you get these people beamed in and who hold his hands. Like what's interesting is,
They
and
hold his hand.
well, here's the thing about it. Not for nothing. For them to only know about Discovery and that it has a spore drive where they should be thinking, what the hell is a spore drive? They knew exactly what to do. I mean, they beamed in and held his hands. Like you got to really know what the hell you're doing to do for that to be your first move.
There's a spy in the Federation, or there's a spy on Discovery, or that tech,
Vance
that
is
book installed is feeding them information for sure.
But if the tech that he installed, how would they know to hold Stamets' hand? Like that's pretty specific.
Well, and it's Star
I feel
Trek.
like people on the ship don't know that. Right?
That's a good call.
Owo might not know that.
Maybe not.
But it's probably just a convenience for story.
Yes. And yeah, this story, this season is definitely putting a story or plot rather in front of character, where the character is chasing the plot, unfortunately. But it's still fun, still entertaining. Let's talk about Gray. Gray returns, and the explanation for Gray's absence was, I needed to figure myself out because I'm stuck inside of you. I can't relate to anyone else. So I disappeared and caused you all these all this trauma. Sorry.
Mike, did you say something? I just thought I heard you quoting a weak excuse. It lost me. I wasn't paying attention.
Please expand on that, sir. Please expand.
I was thinking it seemed like possibly Gray, you know, all of these the symbiotes are supposed to hold all of the memories of all of these other hosts. And so I'm wondering if this means that Gray can no longer feel or also see the memories of these other hosts at the moment and doesn't really know what to do. And we haven't seen a human host a symbiote in forever, for a long period of time. So yeah, but it's also like they're young. What, 18, they're playing young kids, and like they both Gray and Adira, I think, are going through that, kind of angsty emotional time in their life. We see Adira, they get to be kind of the rebel hero, hopefully, while Gray, I think, is a little more introspective because they did technically die.
Hey, I'm with Lamo. Like, but here's the deal.
Lamo says Gray is sus.
So here's the deal, though. Like, if you're seeing somebody, you're dating somebody, you're in love with somebody, right? Whatever, and they ghost you for a few weeks, and they show up and say, "Yeah, I was going through some stuff." I'd be like, "Okay, well, what were you doing exactly?" Right? What does that mean? Like, you can't just show me like, yeah, you know what? I had some stuff on my mind, so I ain't call you for 3 weeks. Like, get out of here with that nonsense. So it didn't crack with me.
Can we fully relate to a dead Trill who's trapped in a human within a symbiote?
I mean, if you showing up every day, right? Like if you're with me every day, every minute, you're playing the cello next to me, right? Like you coaching me, and then you ghost me, and like I need more than, yeah, I was having a rough day, so I pieced out. Like I need more than that.
Well,
there's potential there for the Adira Gray relationship rewarding in a number of ways, and it'll probably happen next season because the actor who plays Gray is returning next season. But I don't think you need Gray as a character in order to have good Adira stories. Adira is a really fun character. Like in this episode, we were just praising how they conspired with Reno to beam themselves onto Book's ship and go down and save the life of Culber and Saru, who are stuck on the planet. She brought the medicine, and now they're going to be there with them. Like Adira is a cool character without this connection to this other character that is kind of just complicating issues. Yeah. I'm not anti-Gray. I'm just saying you don't really need Gray.
Right. Which is probably why I'm hoping they become like a fully realized character that everyone else can see, because then they can fully develop as a character.
Hey, I'm all for them being a character if they have skills to bring to the ship. What's Gray got?
Right,
can he work,
right now
it's
like an OC plot. Like this is just like,
hey, why are you taking shots at OC?
Oh man, you know how I feel. You do a This Is Us podcast. You know how I feel about that show. I don't know. I find that the care that was shown between Book and Burnham when Book goes and like gets Chernobyled and then comes back and just like they do a blood transfusion is fine. Or when Stamets and Culber are like, Stamets is like, no, don't leave. I found all of that like really endearing, but I also like those kind of relationships when they're threaded directly into the rest of the plot. Like I just don't know what I'm supposed to be getting from Gray yet. That's all. Except for that He's tormenting poor Adira.
Fair.
I want to bring up some just some minor details from this episode. Apparently, did we know that Discovery now has cloaking technology?
We do now.
Yeah.
Do now, yeah.
They added that. They said that in the other episode.
Oh,
That
did
they're
they?
adding that onto the ship.
All right.
Yeah,
I mean, I
they
guess-
must have made a reference just so that they could bring it up.
Yeah,
And
it's a fun retrofit.
yeah, and Grant, I don't know if you know this, but in other Star Trek timelines, cloaking is not allowed based on a treaty. But I guess in
Oh,
the
I did not know
future, like the technology is there, but the Federation has said, look, we won't. It's kind of like, we won't use cloaks as part of this agreement. And now
And
it's
then
like,
the Romulans do it all the time, right?
yeah, the Romulans do it all the time.
I know.
It's seen as not ethical
Yeah.
to use. Yeah.
But when you're up against the chain, you got to do it.
Do what you got to
Sure.
do.
So Kelpians can show that they're pregnant on their foreheads,
With
Cannot
acne on their
keep a secret.
foreheads, just like humans.
which leads me to believe that they're not Catholic. No.
All
Okay.
right. Yeah, we're gonna just move right past that joke.
Like, right
Grant.
Another minor nitpick I have was okay. So the man baby Kelpian, what's his name? The title of this episode,
Call.
Sukal. His mom created this hollow environment, right? We're thinking. So when people beam into it, their appearance is changed to suit what he would expect in the hollow environment.
Mhm.
So why does the Kelpian look like a human? Shouldn't he
missed-
look like a Kelpian to comfort him?
I mean, that one is definitely a nitpick for me as well. But the way I sort of started to justify it in my head, because I wanted to just like this episode no matter what today, is that perhaps the only Kelpians created for this were the Elder, and that was it.
Uh-huh.
And so another Kelpian would be like very weird to see.
In other words, they just wanted to show Doug Jones without the makeup, and we liked it.
I think they were, just giving Doug Jones a day to not have to sit in the makeup chair. Because even like I think they were saying for like Hugh's makeup, that even takes like 3 to 4 hours to do just the Bajoran stuff.
Well, that's too bad because he looks
Ooh.
awesome.
I was like, honestly though, why has Culber, and I know why because of the timeline, like I know why if people are going to chime in, but I was like, can we just like leave him Bajoran because he looks great. The earrings, I love.
I want him next episode to get back on a ship and be like, I'm making a choice. I'm Bajoran now.
Sam is just
Start
like, you could
following all the
just wear
spiritual
earrings.
laws, like
or he just keeps the earring. Yeah, he's like, I like this earring.
So
I'm
it feels
into it.
good. It weights my head properly.
Oh, so Phil R kind of maybe has an explanation in the chat. He says that holodeck is broken AF.
True.
I think it just randomizes the characters into known species. Michael and Culber were already human, but became Trill and Bajoran. Sure, that was not clear, but sure, that's my headcanon now.
I mean,
Thank you,
it
Phil.
looks like a lovely program for a child. These broken stairs and nightmare hallways. what kid wouldn't love to be raised in such an environment?
well, I
Also
wonder
feels
if it
very
looked,
Kelpian.
I wonder if it was like a nicer environment at the beginning that has just slowly been decaying as the computer dies. Like the way that the universe looks is the way the computer feels.
I mean, not much is nice, so it must have been a lot of decay.
But I thought, oh man, when they were walking across those like moving bricks to the Citadel, though, and those like it
Mhm.
looked like the orchid creatures, maybe, or
Mhm.
something
Yeah.
from like Picard flying through the air.
Yeah.
I was like here for it. I was like, I know this is not a real planet, but I've been wanting an alien worlds planet for like episode for a while, and I feel like I got it all in this.
Yeah,
episode.
this was much cooler than just beaming onto a ship and looking around a creepy, ship. This was great. It's a great idea to flesh this out visually this way for sure.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Mario today, and that felt like a Mario level where they're just like going across the
Mhm.
floaty tiles to the castle or whatever is going on. I'm like, oh yeah, it's-
When you started that, I had no
Yeah.
idea where you're going, but nice connection, Grit.
Yeah. What did y'all think about the scene between Stamets and Culber when Stamets is all like, you can't go. And then Culber's essentially like, I'm not a housewife. I'm going on this mission. Like,
I was like, dude, you are in the military for the most part, and you just said you can't go. Like, he got an order. Like, it's not like he was like.
I thought it was great to show kind of Stamets' concern for him. They're kind of rocky relationship, and that like there's something still a bit tenuous in how they're trying to build it back to where it was. But also that when Culber's talking about like having this newfound purpose in this future, I liked that. It gave me much more of a window into his character and how he's been able to adapt so well. It seems like we've all been remarking about how he's stepped up into this position where he's able to recognize other people's trauma and pull from something within in order to address that with each individual in like a very caring and compassionate way. And I'm like, okay, this is all tracking with the trajectory of that character. It feels like they know what they're doing with Culber.
Yeah, I co-sign all of that. And in that scene, and in a scene later with Saru, Culber reminds us that he is the only one who really knows what it's like to be lost and alone in a weird alien hellscape where you don't know what's going on or who you are. So he can maybe relate to this man-baby Kelpian. So that was a great callback and a great reminder of how much shit this character has been through and how valuable he is in this situation. So yay, Culber.
On the flip side, I thought there was something a bit rich about Burnham talking about Saru being unable to be objective about the situation. She's like, oh, he's not able to be objective here. And I was like, how many times this season were you unable to be objective, Burnham? And like putting the needs of
she knows best.
She's like, oh, I identify. This is what I do. He's pulling at me.
I am projecting now.
But she was getting into the Freudian concepts that Tilly referenced.
I was very amused by that, but I was like, that's fine. You ride with him. Keep an eye on him. Everything's going to go awful, apparently. It went sideways.
Let's jump into some of these comments because there's a bunch of good ones, good fun live comments here.
Don't do it, Mike.
I will curate the comments, Grant, if you want to help me too. I know you have access to the comments.
Sure.
Here Chike says, how come no one thinks Book is sus?
Because I cannot allow that man to break my heart.
Too lovable.
Nope.
Too in love with him.
Also, they have too much merch already invested into him. They're not
like
going
your shirt.
There's merch, Mariah. What are you? What merch are you
shirt.
talking? There you go.
Oh, there you
Not
go.
just Book, but Grudge.
I'm
on that shirt.
Grudge.
Yes.
Well, hey, I'll say this. Book did expose Grudge to an almost deadly level of radiation. That's a little sus.
Is there a space ASPCA that we can space PETA? Do we need to call space PETA?
Space PETA.
But Book's throwing himself in there, and this is like some dicey situations for everyone.
He's really trying to prove himself, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
If this is a betrayal, that's going to be pretty huge.
Lamo saying Gray is sus. Everybody's sus.
Emotionally,
Grudge is sus. Everybody's sus, apparently.
I mean, what if, I still think there's some mystery to be solved with Grudge.
Yeah.
The whole queen thing. I feel like we've got to have more than she's just a cat.
If we're thinking that someone on the ship has been selling them out, the two new additions would be Book and Adira. Third,
now
I guess, is
yeah, Adira is now gone down to sacrifice themselves in a way.
Okay. Sure.
Fair
enough. I am also sus.
Grant
is sus. Hey, somebody mentioned Adira. What species do you guys think they'll mask her as next episode on the planet?
Ooh, maybe Trill to fully. What if?
Oh, there you go.
What if they become Trill so then they can finally master the symbiote while on the planet, and that's what also allows Gray to become a full character.
Maybe
Mariah
that's why
owns the theories.
Burnham a Trill because I was like, why don't you make Burnham some like a Vulcan? That'd be cool. But yeah,
Oh, if Adira drops down there as a Kelpian, and and then Saru's like, what the fuck?
they're gonna make her a Tribble.
Them.
They a Tribble.
Man.
Okay, Stoss13 says about Adira and Gray. Remember, previous hosts are not separate sentient beings, just memories. Adira isn't talking to, quote, Gray. They're talking to a manifestation of Gray with Gray's memories. I guess we don't
Okay.
know if that's true. That's what I thought, but I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, that is the whole thing is Gray actually a fully sentient thing, like humanoid thing, like person, or is Gray just a manifestation of when Adira's mind needs something to help calm them down or to guide them?
I mean, my understanding of the symbiote is that it takes on all of the host memories.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an ongoing individual that Gray that would be invested in that host, right? It would just be up until the point of Gray's death. All of that is still a living, operating kind of program in a way, right? I don't know. You guys are the Trekkies.
Sort of.
JC wants to see Ferengi Adira.
Oh, I don't need to see that.
With the big ears, that would be weird.
I like the note about the burr on the chair and using
yeah,
that like
between them
yeah,
is nice.
all captains get stressed out, and you
That's
can
nice.
tell like it's always worn out because other people have had to be in this chair and in this position that you're in. It's a heavy role to play. And then seeing Tilly find comfort as she reaches over and finds that little burr on the chair as well. It was a cute moment.
That was great. That was a nice human touch.
And it felt like it connected her with all the other previous captains of other shows as well.
Yeah. Wakanda Customer Service says, what significance do you think the dilithium planet will play? Bargaining chip to get the Discovery back from the chain? A return to form for the Federation? Yeah, what are we going to do here that we have a dilithium planet?
I bet it gets blown up. I
That's what
bet
I was
the norm is going to be that there's a scarcity, and this is too much of a problematic planet. It wouldn't be divvied up properly. So
It works better long-term storytelling wise, right? To have the Disco be the only ship capable of jumping throughout the galaxy as quickly, right?
well, I mean, if everyone else can still do warp speed, it's not the same as instantaneous spore drive.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and they
100%.
did set the precedent. The way that Osiris ship was able to get to them was essentially using the same subspace channels that the Borg used to use.
The
So that's
transport, yep.
Oh,
Mhm.
really? I missed
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Well, look, I actually think that it would be interesting if the Federation controls this planet, and now we have a return to form for the Federation. I'm hoping for that.
So Chupi just made a comment about the bots, and I have to tell you that my spouse has been on the train that the bots are the ultimate sus and that they are somehow either the cause of the burn or going to have a big play in it because they've been in the credits. There have been quote unquote prominent bot shots. Can I just say I've heard the term prominent bot shots every episode of this show from my spouse when we watch it together. And because Michelle Paradise is also writing the finale, who also wrote the finale for last season, in which we saw lots of very problematic bots for our crew.
Yeah, Chupi does say, what if Osira hacked into those bots? Bots are hackable.
Mhm.
That as an explanation would work for me. I'd be okay with that.
And
Yeah.
then we don't have to get rid of our beloved crew. It's just the bots. The bots
Right.
gotta go.
And we
That's
don't have
true.
to get mad at people.
So
And
nobody's sus, just the bots.
Bots
the
obsessed. Everybody else is okay.
especially after we saw, in Picard, with the, the outlawing of this kind of, the AI and the datas, if you will. So I wonder if there's some sort of tie-in that's possible there as to why these continue to be problematic technologies.
I like Kern's comment here about the Kelpians. It was good to hear that the Baul and the Kelpians united when they joined the Federation. It beats the idea of Kelpians wiping them out in a civil war. Yeah, maybe they did wipe him out. This is 1,000 years later, and they after that, they came together. But it is interesting to see that these two species did learn how to cohabitate.
Mm-hmm.
Mark says Doug Jones has a lovely face.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It is lovely, but they still got to cover it up every week.
Yep. Yeah, apparently he was saying in the the ready room, normally it takes like 4 to 5 hours to put on his makeup, and because he shaves his head completely for filming season so that it takes time, that was a wig for his humanoid time, because they were like, they said it was like a decision of whether or not he was going to be bald, but they decided to give him, I thought, what looked like a very rich sort of Kirk era wig.
Yeah, he looked good. CJ Higgins, maybe this is just for me. Guys, did you know that the New York Times named Deep Space Nine one of the best 25 Netflix shows to binge on Netflix? I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised.
Wow.
Everybody binge Deep Space Nine.
It's not often that the New York Times is wrong, but I guess it happens every once in a while.
Ooh, oh man.
I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
And there we go. He's gone.
I was like, do you know what happened this week at the New York Times? In the podcast world specifically?
Oh, yes.
A hot mess over there this week.
Yeah.
No, I actually think that I think if you're looking for something different, and I think that the chances are, for reasons that probably aren't fair, Deep Space Nine is probably the one Trek that I think fewer people have probably seen in a while. And so if you're looking for some classic, some good Trek to binge, that's got a pretty compelling story throughout, I do think it's a good.
Stop. You don't owe this to Mike. You can.
It's
fine.
Like, I've looked back and said, like, I've tried to go back and watch some Voyager, right? But I've said, at some point, if I have some binge time on me, Deep Space Nine is something that I kind of want to go back. It's better than trying to binge Enterprise.
Again, I like all of it.
I like most of it. I love DS9. DS9 is the most relevant Trek to what's happening now, I will say. All right, guys. Anything else? We're coming up on the hour. Anything else you want to say about this episode or of season 3 of DS9?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to him.
Grant, did I say DS9? I meant Discovery.
Grant, we've been talking in the chat, and they wanted you to know that the ghosty fear creature reminded a lot of people of the smoke monster. So go ahead and do your reference.
The smoke monster.
Lost.
There you go.
Is that all you need me to say?
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. I made a bunch of other references to things.
You did.
I even talked about Vic Mackey with a shield today,
which was strong. Like, I was like, whoa.
X-Men reference earlier for sure.
Yeah. You were strong with the references today, and you spread it out, not just sci-fi. I was.
If anyone's playing your game, they're getting wasted. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, mixed reactions on this episode. Mariah was much more on board, while the rest of us are whiny babies. We're a bunch of Scrooges, apparently, bah humbugging this episode. But maybe this is part of a 3-part series, it seems. To close out this season, and maybe these pieces will line up to something better than a kid threw a fit and caused an intergalactic genocide.
Look, I gotta say,
that's not what happened.
Look, I gotta say that as this was not my favorite episode, what I do realize is that this is an incredible franchise. As a series, I think we're all going to look back and say Discovery was probably one of the better Star Trek series. And so with that being said, when you talk about, the writer being someone who wrote on Battlestar Galactica, which is one of my favorite shows of all time, I'm inclined to trust the writing room in this. And so when I get an episode like this, I'm going, but what I'm expecting is the next 2 episodes are going to be so compelling that it's gonna make sense. So as a standalone episode, I thought it was a little meh, with the exception of the last 10-15 minutes, which I thought was incredible, but I'm gonna trust the writing room on this.
Wasoha says, "Don't whine too hard. You might combust all the gasoline on Earth." Harsh. All right. Thank you so much for joining the pod this week. Remember, you can find us live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, typically on Thursday talking Trek. Our next episode is not going to be on Thursday because of July 4th. My God. Because of New Year's Eve. When are we coming back? Who knows?
I believe we're doing it on New Year's Day.
New Year's Day. Okay. 9 o'clock?
Yes.
Sure.
9 Central, New Year's Day. Be here. We'll discuss the next episode of Discovery.
Yes. And if you are listening to this or if you're on YouTube, there's a couple of things you can do to help support this show. If you are on YouTube, hit subscribe and hit that notification bell. It'll help you know when we're going live, especially since we're doing a couple of off days here for the holidays. Also, if you can give us a review on Apple Podcasts, it helps other people find our show, and we really appreciate it. You can find all the links to where you can find any of our faces or how to listen to us at StarTrekPod.co.
The holidays are coming to an end, and you may have found a few extra bucks in your stocking. Go ahead and go to patreon.com/StarTrekPod and throw those bucks our way. $2 an episode, and you get exclusive access to our Slack group for watch-alongs and chats with the whole Trekkie gang and exclusive episodes. We'd love to have you over there, and we appreciate all of your support. That's patreon.com/StarTrekPod.
And I just want to remind everyone to check us out. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can hit us up at Star Trek Pod. Tweet about the episode, please. And also want to shout out to Karen, who helps run our Twitter, and James Worm, who runs our Insta. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, James.
All right. Mariah, where can we find you on the internets?
You can find me at Mariah Gossett on all platforms. That's Mariah with a Y and a Gossett with 2 S's and 2 T's.
Grand Daves.
At Baron Von Grant.
Clyde.
You can find me at Clyde Haynes on Twitter and www.keyandclyde.com. That's KEI and Clyde.com.
Find me on Insta and Twitter at Mike Moody Garcia. Live long and prosper.
Bye.
Up, down, be